Good morning everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cooper of Cooper's Mobile Mechanics, and this is basically just a vlog of what I do during the working week as a mobile mechanic. I'm just in the middle of the first job on a Monday morning, which is a service on this Audi A4. So we're just doing the oil filter, pollen filter, and I'm doing the fuel filter as well, which is just located underneath the sort of driver's side front of the car. I've taken off the under tray there already. And now I just need to take off the pipes. So you've just got the pipe here and pipe there. I just need to get that off, drain it all out, and then stick the new fuel filter in. They're not too bad. A little bit fiddly and messy doing a mobile, sort of working underneath. Easier on a ramp, but it's doable. They're not too bad. Then the rest of the day, I've got 2 more jobs to go and do that are at the same location. One is a Skoda Superb for rear disc and pads. The other one's a Land Rover Discovery for a service. And then after that, I've got a Vauxhall Corsa for a major service. So I've got a fairly busy day today, which is nice. However, I think I've made a bit of an error because today is actually mine and the wife's wedding anniversary. So when I first booked in the work, obviously I knew it was our anniversary today, but I kind of thought, well, it's Monday, the wife's going to be at work anyway, so I'll just book a full day's work. That's not a problem. What I didn't realise is that it's half term. So with her being a teacher, she's not at work today, she's at home. So I probably should have taken the day off, or at least half a day. But as it is, I've given myself a busy day, so we'll try and rattle through it as quick as we can so I can get home and try and spend a bit of time with her at least on our anniversary. I've also been thinking recently about what I'm going to do on Mondays, because I think I've said before on a previous video about how busy Mondays can be, because what I tend to find is you get quite a lot of messages over the weekend for people wanting quotes, people wanting to book in, things like that. So I'm finding myself on Mondays, if I've booked myself up a busy day anyway, on top of that I'm also trying to collect my parts and everything, any parts that I need, order parts, but I'm also trying to get back to everyone that's messaged me over the weekend, because I don't want to leave it too late. Get back to them, you've got to get all their details on things, find out what they want, and then get it all priced up. So what I might start doing is, on a Monday, maybe just book myself half a day. Each Monday I'll probably try and finish about 1 o'clock, and then just spend the rest of the afternoon just to get on top of all the admin side of things, doing all of that. So I think, although obviously I'll be losing out on potential time where I could be earning money, I think it's going to help the stress levels, I guess, on a Monday. So everything doesn't just sort of get overwhelming and on top of you. But yeah, let me know what you think. Drop a comment if you've got any suggestions on how to sort of manage my time a little bit better in that regard. Whether you think working half a day on a Monday and doing the admin side in the afternoon is a good idea, let me know. So it's now about, what time was it? At 2:15. I'm just on the Skoda, doing the rear brakes on the Skoda Superb. So the Audi A4 service was done. Nothing really much to show on that, just a couple of rear tyres that are needed. The Land Rover service is done on that. Again, nothing to show. Serviced that last year and it was clean. Got MOT'd a couple of months ago. No advisories. I checked it over today. Again, there's nothing to report on there. So these are the pads that I've taken out from the Skoda. You can see there's not a lot going on. Not much left. Compared to the new ones. Looking much better. This side's pretty much done. Just going to do the other side now. Get that all rattled off and then give it a road test, make sure it's all good, and go ahead and service that Corsa, and that'll be me done for the day. I'd say it's about 2:15. Usually I'd be further ahead than this, but like I said this morning, I've had quite a lot to price up, a lot of quotes to do, get back to people. So I've been sort of doing that in between doing jobs. So that's taken a bit of time. I've had a couple of people book in in a couple of weeks' time, and then also a couple in for May. So yeah, that's nice. So now I'm with the Vauxhall Corsa, just for the last service of the day. couple of little, well, minor issues that I've noticed just getting here. So, a couple of sort of electrical faults really. To begin with, the washers weren't working, and also the traction control light was on, but I haven't since turned it off and turned it back on again. The light's now gone out, but also the washers are not working. So I've had a quick look. I'll just show you what I've found. Basically, there's a few faults in here, all to do with sort of no communication between control units. So there's no communication fault here with the brake control module. One here, lost communication with the brake control module again. And I think there was one lost communication with the engine ECU as well. I've seen these faults quite a few times, where a lot of the time it can be a battery issue. Either the battery's faulty or insecure, something like that. So I'll just quickly check the battery and see what that's saying. So I've got my top-down battery tester on here. I'm just going to have a look, see what the battery is saying. And this one is, it's a 640 amp battery. So I'll go on there, I'll test it and see what it's saying. You see there, it is coming up to say to replace the battery. So the health is at 21% state of health. So the battery essentially, although it's got 100% charge there, look, the engine's just been running for quite a while. While I was just getting the engine nice and warm, ready for the service. The health is at 21%, so it's not going to be holding charge for as long as it should be. So I would be recommending a new battery with this. Also, you can see down here on the positive connection, see how green it is as well. So I think when replacing that battery, obviously it does need a new battery, but I think all that needs cleaning up as well, doesn't it, while we're there? So I would be inclined to say, let's replace that battery, and that I think will sort out those sort of communication faults. The washer issue, not fully convinced that that's going to be related. I would imagine it's more likely to be sort of washer pump, which is intermittently not working. But like I say, for now, it's okay. But it might just be something just to keep an eye on and come out and have another look if it does start playing up again. Just quickly while I'm under here, do you want to see my favourite thing about these Vauxhall engines? It's got the torque setting for this unplug stamped on it, look. 14 newton meters. Obviously, as a mechanic, I've got access to things like E3 Technical, which give me all the torque settings for everything. But if you're doing your servicing at home and you haven't got access to all that, it's all written on there for you, isn't it? It's now Tuesday morning. First job of the day is a service on a BMW i3. So I'm going to be doing the oil filter, the microfilter or pollen filter, and also the brake fluid change. Now, in order to do this work, I need to turn off the high voltage system. I'm not going to show you how to do that because this work is essential that it's done by a technician that's got their hybrid qualification. So I'm not going to show you how to turn the high voltage off because obviously that's not really something that anyone who's not trained should be doing. But I'll just show you the check that you do after. So once you've switched the high voltage system off, just to double check, send the ignition on here, and we should get drive tread morning and night come on and a message there to say that the high voltage system has been deactivated. So once you've got there, you've got confirmation that the high voltage system is deactivated, then I can carry on and do any service work needed. So while the oil's draining there, just bleeding out the old brake fluid. Starting off with this passenger side rear, then I'll move on to the driver side rear, then over to the front, passenger side front and driver side front. While that's going on, I'll be inspecting sort of the underneath of the car, or the suspension components at the back, checking all the high voltage components as well visually, just make sure there's no damage or anything, and over to the front, checking the steering and suspension components. Now that part of the service is done, I just want to make sure, so I've reconnected the high voltage. I just want to make sure that that's all working, which it is. I want to check the oil level. So obviously I want the little petrol engine to run so that I can check the oil level. What I'm going to do is go on here. So I did this before draining the oil to warm it all up. So if I want to go on to operation, the range extender. So the range extender is the petrol engine. So on these i3s, you've got a fully electric i3. You've also got an i3 with a range extender. And essentially what they're saying the range extender is just the little petrol engine. Alright, so that started there. So now that's just going to warm up the engine, and then once that's finished, I'll check the oil level, reset the service lights and everything, and then we'll go ahead and change the pollen filter. Now the pollen filters on these are a bit of a faff to get to. You've got to take out, so you've got a panel that runs along here. You take that out, panel just under here you take out, and then you want to take off there's like the bit of plastic bit that's used for the footrest. You've got 2 screws, just take that out and tuck it out the way, and then you've got some foam there that will sit on top. Once you've got all of those out the way, just here, let me get a torch. Back here is where the pollen filter is located. Pollen filter, microfilter. You probably notice I'm alternating between the words. I tend to say pollen filter, just like as a general term for it. BMW call it a microfilter. It's the same thing. You just want to get a little tab here, take that out there, and then behind here. Oh, kind of got to get your hand in there, and you can pull it out. You've got 2 of these. You've got one there, and then another one. It's sort of, you've got one here and then one further down. So you just got to reach down and get that one as well. So this bottom one's got like 3 pads on it. So that'll sit there, and then the other one will just sit on top like that. So genuine filter, made by man. So that was last replaced in 2020, so 5 years ago. Which that should have been replaced sooner than that. We've got a couple of new man pollen filters to go in, so I'll just stick those in, reassemble everything. Now my next job, which is BMW 4 Series for a new battery, and this having a brake fluid change as well. So I'm just going to start with the battery. I just want to take off that bolt and that bolt, take this out of the way, and then down there somewhere you can't really see is the 13mm bolt, which got like a sort of clamp to hold the battery in. Take the 2 terminals off, swap it over, and then I just need to register it with the diagnostic computer. So go here, register battery exchange. Now I want to go F2, register the battery. So I'm going to go on this first one, enter the battery exchange, so it's the same capacity. It's not a genuine BMW battery. I've put a Yuasa battery in there. We'll press no for that bit. And that's gone through successfully. And then it should just put the time and date in there. That's it. That's all. That is the correct time and date, so just press next, and that's it done. Now I'm just going to go ahead and do the brake fluid change. So you now join me on Wednesday afternoon. I've had 2 jobs this morning, a couple of sets of brakes, and now I'm with a Audi A3 to carry out some repairs. It's one that I had a look at last week for some diagnosis. It's got the EPC light and the engine management light on. So I'm just going to run you through, firstly, what I found, and then also how I diagnosed that. So these are the faults I was presented with, all relating to the turbo actuator. This fault here, mechanical fault, that was the main sort of fault code that I was concerned with already. They're all sort of meaning the same thing, but that particular fault code there is a technical bulletin with Volkswagen and Audi for that particular fault. So I had a look on all data, found the technical bulletin, and then went through the sort of diagnosis process for it. So the first check was to check the actuator itself and see if there's a spacer. So if there was a spacer, it would go in here. You basically loosen off these two nuts, pull the actuator over that way, and put a spacer in. But there's no spacer in there, so we have to go to the next stage. So then this is where we look on live data. So it's this one here, charge pressure actuator adaptation for the lower stop. So it said if it was 4.2 volts or lower, then we know to replace the actuator. If it was above that, then you fit the spacer, carry out a software update, and go from there. Because that is below 4.2, we're going to replace the turbo actuator. So I've got a new one with me. And that's what I'm here to do today. So I've got a new genuine unit here ready to go. So it is basically, like I say, I've got two nuts here, there and there. I've got to get the heat shielding off for the turbo, and then we've got the rod there. So all it's got for that rod, see those clips? So take one of those clips off, swap the nuts over, we've got all new bits to go on. So starting with the heat shield, we've got T30s there and there, and then there's some more down here, just a bit of a wiring loom on a bracket that's held onto it. So we'll take that out, a couple of screws to get out, get that lambda sensor out of the way, and then we can get to the clip for the actuator. So now I've got the heat shield, got all the bolts out, but it's quite tight down here. Just kind of pushing up against this oil pipe here, goes onto the oil filter housing. You can, if you wanted to, you can take that banjo bolt out, but ideally then you'd need to change those seals, or you could try and sort of bend it and pull it out of the way. But for this job, you can get it back just far enough there. You should be able to get a little pick in there and just get that clip out. That's the new one in place. So I've got two new nuts there, got it clipped in. Obviously on the technical bulletin it was saying about having a spacer. You don't put the spacer in if you're putting a new unit in. You just put this new unit in and then adapt it as it is. It all just essentially, once you've got that clipped out and these two nuts off, the whole thing just slides over that way. You can get a little bit seized in there, might just need to knock it through a little bit. But yeah, it just slides through like that. So I'll build all this back together, get the lambda sensor back in, and then adapt it, erase the faults, and then hopefully that should be good. Now that we're all bolted in nicely, I'm going to go here. Initial adaptation of the charge air pressure actuator. Start that. Now I can hear, while that was doing that, I don't think it got picked up. You can hear the actuator, so the rod basically just moving backwards and forwards. So that's saying it's ended. Let's go in here. Trouble codes. We should be able to erase these faults now. So they've gone. Just want to make sure they don't come back on with the engine running. So far so good. I'll just go back into the trouble codes. Just make sure nothing pops up. There's nothing there. So I'm just going to leave that running for a bit now. Just want to tidy the tools up, just make sure no faults come back up. I'll probably just check the fault memory again in about 10 minutes, give it a road test. Yeah, it's looking like this has been a successful repair. Bit of an odd one, that one. Just took it out for a drive. As soon as I pulled off and put my foot down, the EPC light came back on. So I thought, all right, maybe it is the turbo after all. because they are common. When I worked at Seat, when these engines were quite popular, we changed a lot of these actuators, but we also changed a lot of turbos as well, to be fair. So I just pulled over and then just had a look at live data to see what was going on. And I've just carried out the adaptions again a second time. And then it's been okay. And I've just been for about 2 or 3 mile drive, giving it a good drive as well, make sure the turbo is kicking in, make sure the actuator is doing its job, and everything is okay now. So whether it just needed adapting again, yeah, I'll advise to the customer that there is a potential that it may need a turbo in the future if it does come back on again. Now Thursday morning, just got the one job on today for a service and a brake fluid change on this Golf. Got a little apprentice with me today. Nice quick and easy job this morning. Only booked in the one job today because I'm heading off to go and watch the football. So I think I'm being picked up about 2 o'clock. So yeah, we're just going to head off now, get showered, get ready. And then tomorrow I've just got a service on a Mazda, rear disc and pads on a BMW 1 Series, and then a Vauxhall Vivaro for a service and front and rear disc and pads. I don't know who thought it was a good idea to book a full day of work today, but I kind of wish I didn't. Got home about 2:20 this morning after the football. Yeah, good night though. Anyway, I've got a service on this Mazda CX-5, and then I've got some rear disc and pads for a 1 Series, and then I've got a Vivaro that's for a service, and front and rear disc and pads. So fairly busy day. Let this be a sign to everyone. Change those pollen filters. Oh, it's not been done in a while, has it? It's a bit nicer, isn't it? That's what it should look like. Woo! Now, my next job was originally what we thought was for a set of rear brakes. So the service light was on for the rear brakes, so I came with disc and pads and a sensor. And I said I'll just check it before going ahead and doing anything. But you can see there the brake pads, there's loads left on them. So I had a look at the sensor, and you can see, I think basically when I got done before, the pad sensor, the wiring hadn't been routed properly. You can see there where it's all been rubbing on the rear drive shaft, and here it was all rubbing as well. So it's ripped through here, and it has somewhere around here, it's kind of hard to see on the camera, it had gone through the wire. So I've just put a new sensor on it and I've routed it correctly, and now the service light is now able to be reset. So it's a nice, quick, straightforward one really. Also nice and cheap for the customer. So rather than doing disc and pads, what he initially thought was going to need doing, it's just a case of, you know, the price of the sensor and a bit of labour. So yeah, nice repair there, nice fix. Both of us are happy. The disc and pads that I bought with me, I can just take those back, that's no issue. So I'll just get the wheel torqued up, take it for a drive, and just make sure that light doesn't come back on for any reason. And then I'll just head off to the next one, which is the Vivaro for the brakes and a service. Well, that's me done for the day. Like I say, I had that Vauxhall Vivaro for a service and front and rear brakes. He wasn't sure what it needed, so I went and had a look. The the rear disc and pads were metal to metal. They were really bad. So it's had new disc and pads on the rear. The front, the pads were low. They were at 2mm, but the discs were fine. So I put brake pads on the front, disc and pads on the rear, and then to the service. And I was going to film it, but to be honest, the owner of the van is a friend of mine. And we just spent the whole time talking, to be fair, so yeah, I didn't really get time to get the camera out or anything. Like I said, that's the end of my week, so that's the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found some things interesting. Please like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.